This is the story of Much Ado About Nothing. As merry as the day is long. In an idyllic Mediterranean town, a skirmish of wit is afoot. Now the story. Leonato, the governor of Messina, receives word that his old friend Don Pedro will be arriving in town shortly, accompanied by two fellow soldiers, a young Florentine nobleman named Claudio and the debonair lord Benedict. The three soldiers, along with Don Pedro's half-brother Don John and Don John's followers Conrad and Baraccio, are welcomed to the estate by Leonato, his daughter Hero, and his niece Beatrice. Hero immediately captures Claudio's heart, while Beatrice and Benedict quickly fall back into the merry war of wit going on between them. Afterwards, Claudio tells Benedict that he's in love with Hero. While Benedict shoots down the notion of love, Don Pedro, who is a bit more of a romantic, offers to help Claudio win Hero's heart. Now, unbeknownst to them, Baraccio is eavesdropping on this conversation. And armed with this new piece of information, the disgraced Don John works with Baraccio and Conrad on a scheme to sabotage this intended marriage. Love may transform me. That night, Leonato hosts a masquerade dance to welcome his friends to Messina. Pretending to be Claudio, a masked Don Pedro approaches Hero, and the two leave the party while the real Claudio watches on nervously. Don John and Baraccio try to interfere, but Don Pedro successfully woos Hero in Claudio's name, and a wedding is set for a week later. Now, to pass the time until the happy nuptials, Don Pedro proposes a plan to bring Beatrice and Benedict together, even though the two of them have both sworn off the ideas of marriage and each other. Don Pedro, Claudio, and Leonato conspire for Benedict to listen in on a conversation where Leonato tells them that Beatrice is in love with Benedict. Likewise, Hero enlists the help of her attendants, Margaret and Ursula, to make Beatrice think Benedict has feelings for her. However, while Beatrice and Benedict are busy making sense of their newfound feelings for each other, a more sinister plot is underway. Don John is determined to ruin Hero and Claudio's wedding, and he hatches a plan to deceive Claudio into thinking Hero is unfaithful. With so much chaos and deception, will the truth be revealed and true love prevail? Or will slanderous tongues tear these two couples apart? Now, here are some notes on the additional text in our production of Much Ado About Nothing. And these notes are written by the playwright Erin Shields. Much Ado About Nothing has always been one of my favorite comedies. Now, watching Beatrice and Benedict adamantly protest their love for one another, only to get baited into revealing their reciprocal passion, is comedy gold. As a counterpoint to this love match, Shakespeare creates an equally recognizable match of duty between Hero and Claudio. While there is affection between the two, their engagement has as much to do with land, title, and status as it does with love. Underneath this playful rom-com is the deep patriarchal obsession of the early modern era with female chastity. The men's endless jokes about cuckoldry in the first acts of the play reveal a deep paranoia about the inconsistency of women, a fear that is easily weaponized by Don John, who convinces Don Pedro and Claudio that Hero has been unfaithful the night before her wedding. While the shaming of Hero in the church before the ceremony does not ring false today, there remains a societal obsession with women's bodies and what we do with them. Hero's silence in the face of those unjust accusations is extremely frustrating for a contemporary audience. Even at the end of the play, after Hero's name is finally cleared, she has very little text to process the violence that she's endured. Now, this struggle was top of mind for director Chris Abraham when he was invited to stage the 2023 production of Much Ado About Nothing at the Stratford Festival. He approached me, Erin Shields, to write a new scene that might be seamlessly inserted into the last moment of the play, a scene in which Hero might challenge the men who have accused her and search for a way to move forward. I was extremely intrigued by this proposal, and I suggested the addition of a prologue for Beatrice to invite the audience to consider how women are seen throughout the play, by the men around them, by society at large, and by one another. It's my hope that this additional text both gives an opportunity for a limited character to reach her heroic potential and provides a framework for this incredibly successful comedy to reach contemporary audiences in an even deeper way today. Erin Shields. Now, these are the director's notes about Much Ado About Nothing, and these are written by the director of the production, Johnna Wright. Beatrice says, "I wonder that you will be still talking, Senior Benedict. Nobody marks you." Benedict replies, "What, my dear Lady Disdain, are you yet living?" Johnna says, "I've always wanted to direct Much Ado About Nothing. Who can resist the cleverness of its wordplay and the warmth and goodness of the people at its center? It's so much fun to watch those two run from each other until they just can't do it anymore." Now, W.H. Auden wrote that Beatrice and Benedict are the characters of Shakespeare we'd most like to sit next to at dinner. So true. But somehow, all of these characters seem that way to me. Shakespeare's story about love, deception, marriage, and his culture's preoccupation with women's chastity is told with such generosity that it's hard to dislike anyone. I'm looking at you, Don John. Except, what about Hero and Claudio? What do you do with that late medieval story about a young woman who is terribly mistreated by her bridegroom, but marries him anyway? As it turns out, the answer is you get Erin Shields to write about it. I couldn't have been more thrilled and frankly relieved to read the text that Erin wrote for the Stratford Festival's 2023 production. Erin's dialogue gives voice to Hero's pain and to the dilemma she later faces. It's done with real allegiance to the characters Shakespeare created, concluding the Hero Claudio story in a very satisfying way. And that frees us. It frees us to love these people and this story the way we want to. I've always been fascinated by the way you can't find so many different abouts in Shakespeare. His plays have different meanings for us at different times in our lives. And what strikes me right now about Much Ado About Nothing is the way that people can change and will change when they know that they are loved. The way another person's love can make us want to be better versions of ourselves. Not only Beatrice and Benedict, but also Hero and Claudio are transformed. And I think we also see how being unloved can change a person in a different way. We've been seeing this production as a sort of Mediterranean house party. one of those unexpectedly special get-togethers where something transformative winds up happening for everyone. There's something special in the air. And as with all good parties, it's the more the merrier. Everyone is invited. So welcome, and we hope you enjoy it. Johnna Wright. And this is from Mara Gottler. She's the costume designer for Much Ado About Nothing. And Mara writes, natural fabrics and dyes dominate in Much Ado About Nothing, with browns, greens, tans, and rusts, reflecting high summer in a rural 17th century Mediterranean setting. Although a loose, sensual silhouette dominates, the arrival of Don Pedro's soldiers introduces a more buttoned-up formality, despite the soft leather doublets and romantically undone shirts. Somewhere in between are the bumbling yet sincere neighborhood watch with their indigo and grey combinations, vaguely suggesting a uniform and authority. In the masquerade party and the first wedding scene, colour becomes overtly symbolic. The red accents and the wolf and rabbit masks of the former hint at the predatory nature of passion, while the rigid ivory silk dress of the latter, with its heavy gold embellishments, hints at the traditional value of a daughter's chastity in enriching her father's social standing. Colour is never neutral. That was Mara Gottler, costume designer. Now, Pam Johnson. She's the set designer for Much Ado About Nothing. And she writes, the first inspiration for any design comes from Shakespeare himself and the stories he's written. Every year, I marvel at the insight and stimulation that also comes from the director. This year, for Much Ado About Nothing, Johnna Wright was keen on exploring the romance of the piece. Can anything be more romantic than men returning home victorious, meeting with the women they left behind to rekindle love affairs and spark new romances? A plot to unite a pair of headstrong people to become a couple leads to a rustic wedding in a beautiful courtyard in an Italian vineyard. Oh, how life can change. My goal, says Pam Johnson, is to create an environment that allows love to blossom, death to be defied, and joy to unite us all. Enjoy. Pam Johnson. The cast of Much Ado About Nothing in alphabetical order. Playing Dogberry, the messenger, and the monk, Scott Bellis. Playing Ursula, Jennifer Clement. Playing the attendant and member of the watch and also the nun, Stephanie Davis. Benedict is played by Sheldon Elter. Verges and the nun by Paige Fraser. Conrad and a nun, Christy Hansen. Don Pedro is played by Matthew Ipshaw. Don John and a monk is Karthik Kadam. Playing the attendant and member of the watch, also a monk, Sebastian Kroon. Playing the attendant, a member of the watch, Jacob Leonard. Beatrice is played by Jennifer Lines. Playing Leonardo and also a member of the watch, David Marr. Margaret and Seacole are played by Agnes Tong. Hero is played by Jennifer Tong. Claudio by Angus Yam. Borachio and the friar are played by Tanner Zer. Now then, the understudies for Much Ado About Nothing. For Leonardo and the member of the watch, Scott Bellis. Understudying for Conrad and the nun, Jennifer Clement. For Verges, The Nun, and Ursula, Stephanie Davis. Understudying for Margaret and Seacole is Paige Fraser. For Beatrice, Christy Hansen. For Benedict, Don Pedro, Dogberry, the Messenger, and the Monk, Sebastian Kroon. For Claudio, Baraccio and the Friar, Jacob Leonard. For Hero, the understudy is Agnes Tong, and for Don John, the Sexton, and the Monk, the understudy is Tanner Zer. Now then, the director for Much Ado is Johnna Wright. The choreographer and fight director is Jonathan Hawley-Purvis. The intimacy director, Lisa Goebel. The set designer, Pam Johnson. Associate set designer, Ryan Cormack. The costume designer is Mara Gottler. The lighting designer, Sophie Tang. The sound designer, Michelle Cutler. The assistant costume designer, Starlin Chen. The assistant lighting designer, Gillian White. The head voice and text coach is Alison Matthews. The vocal coach is Alana Hawley-Purvis. And the apprentice director is Isaac Stuber Lee. The stage manager for Much Ado is Jeff Jones. The assistant stage manager is Yvonne Yip. And the apprentice stage manager, Carolyn Tang.